Om Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviyam Karavavahai Tejasvinavadhitamastu ma vidvishavahai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. We are reading from the book Meditation and Spiritual Life by Swami Yatiswarananda. We are currently in chapter 34, Footprints on the Sands of Time, which is devoted to describing the lives of saints from all regions of India. And now we are starting on Saints of Maharashtra. The saints of Maharashtra belong to two schools. The Varakaris or mild devotees, who include the great saints Jnaneshwar, Namdev, Eknath and Tukaram, and the Dharakaris or heroic devotees, who include Samartha Ramdas and his followers. The first school was based on the cult of Vithala, the chief deity of Pandharpur in Maharashtra. The first and the greatest of these saints was Jnaneshwar or Jnandev, who lived in the 13th century AD. He and his brother Nivrittanath were trained in the way of the Natha yogis, but in his writings Jnaneshwar mingles Natha tradition with Vedanta, and it is this synthetic approach that became popular in Maharashtra. Jnaneshwar was the second son of his parents Vitthal Pant and Rakhumabai. His father had, after his marriage, renounced the world and sought sannyasa from Ramananda, the great sage who was the fountainhead of Bhakti movement in North India. Without knowing that Vitthal Pant was a householder, Ramananda admitted him into the holy sannyasa order. But later on, when he came to know the truth, he asked his disciple to go back home and lead a householder's life. Vitthal Pant obeyed his guru, and 3 sons and a daughter were born to him in due course. But breaking the vow of sannyasa was considered a great sin by the local Brahmins, who excommunicated the family. It is said that both Vitthal Pant and his wife committed suicide, orphaning the children Nivrittanath, Jnanadev, Sopan and Muktabai. But the children, by their holy lives, impressed the Brahmins so much that they were admitted back into their caste. According to tradition, the eldest brother Nivrittanath was initiated by Gahininath, the disciple of the great yogi Gorakshanath, and he in turn initiated Jnanadev. Thus, through them, the doctrine of Natha school entered Maharashtra mysticism. The brothers and the sister wandered all over the country singing the glories of God. Jnanadev died at the early age of 22, but by then he had composed the Jnaneshwari, one of the greatest mystical works in the world, the Amrita Anubhava and many abhangs, lyrics in Marathi language. Though Jnaneshwari is supposed to be a commentary on the Gita, it actually expounds his own synthetic philosophy and personal spiritual experiences. It is the confluence of the 4 great religious paths: karma, yogi, bhakti and jnana. Jnanadev does not take the view of the extreme non-dualist. According to him, God is both immanent and transcendent. He gives the example of the ocean and the wave. God is the ocean, and the souls and the universe are waves and bubbles. All his works are full of illustrations of this type and are of great poetic charm and elegance of expression. Speaking about the highest truth, which transcends all duality, he says, "It is like the beauty that has not yet assumed any form, or like the holiness of a virtuous act before it is performed. It transcends all generality." Silence is the greatest speech in this case. Jnanadev's sister Muktabai has also left behind many abhangs of great spiritual and poetic value. The next great saint of the same tradition was Namdev. He was a contemporary of Jnaneshwar. In fact, at that time, a number of great saints were living in Maharashtra who were devotees of Lord Vithala. They all formed a happy spiritual company, often going about the streets singing in procession. Namdev was born in a tailor's family. It is said that in his early youth he took to the way of the robber and once killed some soldiers. Later on, when he saw the sorrowing wife and the young child of one of those he had killed, his heart became repentant and he underwent a sudden conversion. He spent most of his time singing in the temple of Vithala, singing the Lord's praises. However, his rapid spiritual progress had made him a little vain. Then one day Jnanadev came to the temple with his brothers and sister Muktabai. The young girl detected the strain of vanity in Namdev and asked another saint, Gora, the potter, to test all the assembled holy men. Gora took a stick and began tapping the heads one by one. When he came to Namdev, he said that quote-unquote pot was unbaked, the only one in their group. Humiliated, Namdev was directed to go to Vishobha Kechara, who was himself a disciple of Jnanadev. After getting initiation from Vishobha, he had to pass through intense spiritual struggles. His sorrow at not having realized God found expression in a number of Abhangs lyrics. As a bee's heart might be set upon the fragrance of a flower, or as a fly might take resort to honey, similarly does my mind cling to God, says Namdev in one place. In another Abhang he says, I am called Lordless, Lordless, but thou art called the Lord. I am called Fallen, Fallen, but thou art called the Reliever of the Fallen. If thou art not to listen to me, says Namdev, would it not be a matter of shame to you? Like other Maharashtra saints, Namdev attached great importance to the repetition of the divine name. God may remain concealed, but he cannot conceal his name. When we have at once uttered his name, he cannot escape from us. So said Namdev. Through intense devotion and constant repetition of his name, Namdev was able to attain to the highest state of spiritual illumination. Though he was intensely devoted to Vithala, his chosen deity, he experienced his immanence in all created things. The story is told that one day a dog ran away with a piece of dry bread, and Namdev ran after it with a pot of ghee in his hand. Oh Lord, wait, let me butter the bread. Namdev had a maidservant by name Janabai. She was his disciple and served him with great devotion. She too was a poet of no mean order, and her simple abhangs are still popular in Maharashtra. Janabai used to get up early in the morning and grind corn in her heart, all the while singing praises of God. One day, Namdev's mother heard her talking to somebody and peeped in. She saw another woman. On being questioned, Janabai said it was Vithalbhai, God Vithala in the guise of a woman. If God can assume the form of a man, can he not come in the form of a woman? In one of her abhangs, Janabai speaks about grinding her karma in dispassion's mill which has faith for its handle. What an apt imagery. Her place among the Maharashtra saints, women saints, is next only to that of Muktabai. Another group of great saints appeared in Maharashtra in the 16th century. Among them, the most famous was Eknath. Born in a pious Brahmin family in Paithan, Eknath was deeply devoted to God from his childhood. At the age of 12, he met his guru, the well-known Janardana Swami, and was initiated by him. He served his guru and studied under him. When he came of age, he was married to a pious girl. He lived the life of an ideal householder. His duties of life were never an obstacle to his devotional life. He spent his time in meditation, scriptural study and teaching, devotional singing, and service of the pious and the needy. A number of stories connected with his life show his spirit of ahimsa and patience. One day when he was coming out of a river after his bath, a Mohammedan spat on his body. Eknath calmly went back and took his bath again. The Mohammedan again spat on his body, and again Eknath, without a word of anger, went and had his bath. The spitting and bathing went on 108 times until the repentant scoundrel fell at the saint's feet and begged his pardon. Eknath published for the first time a reliable edition of Jnaneshwari. Among his own works, his commentary on the 11th chapter of the Bhagavatam and the long poem entitled The Marriage of Rukmini are famous, but his popularity among the masses rests mainly on his abhangs, lyrics, in which he expresses his intense devotion to God and sense of moral values. We should live in the world as mere pilgrims who come to a resort in the evening and depart the next morning. As children build houses in sport and throw them away, so we should deal with this life. After spiritual practice, about spiritual practice, he says, Bhakti is the root, dispassion is the flower, and illumination is the fruit. In some other abhangs, he speaks of his spiritual experiences which are of the highest order. At the dawn of mystical experience, I saw the whole world clothed in radiance, he says in one place. In one of his most popular songs, he says that inside and outside, in sleeping and in waking, in whichever direction he looked, he saw only Rama. Some other abhangs describe his attaining oneness with God. Eknath made the sublime teachings of Vedanta popular among the masses of Maharashtra. In the 17th century, there appeared in Maharashtra another great saint, Tukaram, the most popular of Maharashtra saints. His life is a favorite topic for the form of musical discourse known as Harikatha, perhaps because the unpleasant domestic scenes created by his nagging wife provided ample scope for dramatizing the life of the pious householder. He was born in 1608 at Dehu, a village about 18 miles from Pune, in a pious family of farmers. When he was a young man, there raged a great famine in that part of the country, and Tukaram lost his cattle, land, one of his two wives, and also a son. The surviving wife was a shrew and made his life miserable by constant nagging. All these unpleasant experiences turned his mind towards God. He began to study the works of Jnaneshwar, Namdev, and Eknath and spent spare time in contemplation in the wilderness. He was initiated in a dream by a saint known as Babaji, whom he refers to in one of his abhangs as the ship of Panduranga, which can take people across the ocean of worldly existence. After a period of sadhana and seclusion, Tukaram emerged as a poet and preacher. This aroused the jealousy of the Brahmins of the locality, who tried to persecute him in many ways. But in the end, his intense love for God and blameless life won them over to his side. His abhangs reveal the great inner struggles he had to pass through in order to attain full illumination. They express his intense yearning for God. It is significant that the life of a sincere aspirant always begins with a sense of misery and dissatisfaction, and this makes him turn to God. After he has undergone a few months or years of struggle, the Lord makes his presence felt to him and gives him an amount of joy and then disappears. This separation of the soul from the divine gives rise to intense sufferings, not of the worldly kind, but of a higher type. The Christian mystics call it the dark night of the soul. The Hindu mystics call it Viraha. It is as if a cloud has descended on his soul and the aspirant is assailed by many temptations of a subtle kind. Tukaram expresses this condition in one of his abhangs as follows. How can I know the right? So helpless am I, since thou thy face hast hid from me, O thou most high. I call and call again at thy high gate, none hears me, empty is the house and desolate. So this is quoted from Nicole MacNicol, Psalms of Maratha Saints, page 56. He goes to the Lord as a beggar for alms. What alms? The alms of divine love. A beggar at thy door pleading I stand. Give me an alms, O God, love from thy loving hand. Spare me the barren task to come and come for naught. A gift poor Tuka craves, unmerited, unbought. So this is from page 57 of Psalms of Maratha Saints. The intense agony of separation from God finds poignant expression in his following well-known abhang. As on the bank the poor fish lies and gasps and writhes in pain, or as a man with anxious eyes seeks hidden gold in vain, so is my heart distressed and cries to come to thee again. Thou knowest, Lord, the agony of the lost infant's wail, yearning his mother's face to see how oft I tell this tale. Oh, at thy feet the mystery of the dark world unveil. The fire of this harassing thought upon my bosom preys. Why is it I am thus forgot? Oh, who can know thy ways? Nay, Lord, thou seest my hapless lot. Have mercy, Tukar says. This is from the Psalms of Maratha Saints, page 63. Tukaram wanted to taste sugar. He did not want to become sugar. He wanted to enjoy the bliss of communion with God. He did not want to become one with Him. He therefore says, Advaita contents me not. So this is from page 68 of Psalms of Maratha Saints. The attainment of inner purity and complete self-surrender enabled Tukaram to be blessed with the divine vision to feel the blessed presence of his Lord. The Lord Panduranga must have appeared to him in his vision, for he says, See, Tuka says, mine eyes behold him now, standing all wrapped in thoughts. This is from the Psalms of Maratha Saints, page 70. He felt that the constant presence of the Lord, in him, as he tells us in the following Abhang. Now, Panduranga, I have chosen for my part none but his to be. In all my thoughts he dwells in my heart, sleeping and waking he. Page 70 of Psalms of Maratha Saints. He felt that the Lord was constantly guiding him everywhere, for his will had merged with the divine will. Holding my hand thou leadest me, my comrade everywhere. As I go on and lean to thee, my burden thou dost bear. So like a happy child I play in thy dear world, O God, and everywhere I, Tuka, say thy bliss is spread abroad. Page 71, Psalms of Maratha Saints. He could now say with confidence, with the conviction born of direct realization, God is ours, yea, ours is He, soul of all the souls that be. God is nigh without a doubt, nigh to all within, without. God is gracious still, every longing He'll fulfill. God protects His own, strife and death He casteth down. Kind is God, kind indeed, Tuka He will guard and lead. Page 73, Psalms of Maratha Saints. In another Abhang, Tukaram speaks about the transcendent nature of God which could only be grasped through bhakti. Thy nature is beyond the grasp of human speech or thought, so love I've made the measuring rod by which I can be taught. Thus with the measure rod of love I meet the infinite. In sooth, to measure him there is none other means so fit. Page 73, Psalms of Maratha Saints. Through intense love for God, Tukaram attained freedom from the clutches of the senses and the mind. So he says in a tone of triumph, Beat we the drum of love, whose din brings terror to this age of sin. Hail Tuka bids, with joy the victory we win. Page 85, Psalms of Maratha Saints. True victory is conquering one's passions. It means conquest of oneself. The Upanishad speaks of it as Swarat, self-sovereignty, true freedom born of self-realization. It is a strange fact, a paradox, that we win true freedom by losing ourselves, by sacrificing our lower self for the ego. We lose our ego and gain the Lord. So Tukaram says, the self within me now is dead, and thou enthroned in its stead. Yea, this I, Tuka, testify, no longer now is me or mine. Page 79, Psalms of Maratha Saints. In another beautiful Abhang he says, Before my eyes my dead self lies. Oh, bliss beyond compare. Joy fills the worlds and I rejoice, the soul of all things there. My selfish bonds are loosed, and now I reach forth far and free. Gone is the soil of birth and death, this petty sense of me. Narayan's grace gave me this place, where I in this faith abide. Now Tuka says, my task I've done, and spread the message wide. All these are from Nicole MacNicol, Psalms of Marathi Saints in the Heritage of India series, and the last Abhang was from pages 79 and 80. Let us learn how to live this spiritual life, and let us know in our heart of hearts that the greatest of all spiritual practices is self-surrender, complete dedication of ourselves to the Supreme Spirit. Let us learn the secret of this self-surrender and self-dedication from the saints of Maharashtra. Indeed, that is the eternal message of all great saints. Om Purnamadah Purnamidam Purnat Purnamudachyate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Harihi Om. Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Harihi Om.